Welcome back to the channel. Today we're back with our Final Fantasy Commander deck profile with Zell Dincht. He's 3 mana for 0/3. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. He gets +1/+0 for each land you control, and at the beginning of your end step, return a land you control to its owner's hand. So, Zell answers the important question of what if we could run landfall without green in the deck and only red. It was a little bit more difficult than your standard landfall deck to find cards, so yeah, got us as many lands out of our deck or out of our hand as possible, but we managed to make it work here. It is quite fun, some of the cards that we do manage to run in here, that you could run in a red-green landfall deck, which maybe another commander deck profile coming to the video soon, hint hint. But yeah, like I said, that's the general overview of the deck. Is we're going to be trying to burn out our opponents, dealing damage based upon the amount of lands we have, and just some lands have some good enter the battlefield abilities. Or, if we sacrifice them and send them to a graveyard, we can use them again for certain abilities, but we'll get to that as we get to it. Let's get into it card by card. Adventuring Gear, whenever a land you control enters, equipped creature gets +2/+2 till end of turn. So, we could potentially give a creature +4/+4 with that landfall ability. That could potentially give Zelding up to a 6/3. 6/7. My apologies there. But yeah, it's a little bit of extra power boost there. Bitterhorn lets you get a land out of your deck. We want as many possibilities we can get to get lands out of our deck onto the battlefield in order to get those landfall abilities to happen, or just certain abilities that say based upon the amount of lands you have do X, such as Blackblade or Forge, where a creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control. Our main focus of this deck is to power up Zelding in a certain fashion, while also burning out our opponent, so let's get as much power onto him as possible. Crucible of Worlds, this way, if we do have something that says sacrifice a land, we could just get it back from our graveyard. Curse Mirror, add red mana, becomes a copy of any other target artifact. So who says we just need one Blackblade or Forge? We could have two. Endless Atlas, 2 mana, draw a card, activate only if you have 3 more lands with the same name. We're going to have 3 more cards. It's called Mountain in our deck. It's on our field at a certain point. Certainly hope so. But, a little bit of draw power never hurt anyone. Expedition Map, sacrifice it, search the library for land, reveal it, put it into your hand. Then you can play it as your extra land this turn. And it's also any land card. You don't necessarily have to wait for your opponent, for your mountain off that one just. Orrery, each player may play an additional land each turn, aka 3 for us, 2 for everyone else. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, player has no cards in hand, player may draw 3 cards. It might not be the most helpful for us because we have to return a land from our from our field to our hand. So we're going to tend to have a card in our hand, but an extra land drop every turn I'd say would be worth running this card for. Horn of Greed, whenever a player plays land, that player draws a card. We're going to be playing plenty of lands. Let's get plenty of draw power off it. Lightning Greaves, we're going to want a little bit of protection for Zell. This way we can keep on playing those extra lands each turn. So let's run Lightning Greaves on here. Navigation Orb, sacrifice it, search your library for up to 2 basic lands, or gates. I don't think we have any gates in here. Reveal those cards, put them onto the battlefield tab, and 1 into battlefield, 1 to your hand. You're basically getting a Kodama's Reach for 5 mana. Take what you get. Ruby Medallion for a little bit of cost reduction there. Seer Sundial. Whenever a land enters battlefield under your control, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. We're going to have plenty of mana with all the lands that we're going to have on the battlefield, so let's take what we get. A little bit extra draw power off that. Soul Ring for some even more mana. Swiftfoot Boots, same as Lightning Greaves. Sword of the Animus and Wayfarer's Bauble are both ways to get lands out of our deck and onto the battlefield. Akum Hellhound, landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, it gets +2/+2 till end of turn. So, if we have this, say we get turn 1, get this out, turn 2, get Zelding out somehow, we could potentially have this as a 4/5 on turn 2. Akum Hellkite, whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, deal 2 damage to your opponent if it's a mountain, 1 damage if it's anything else. But, Evolving Wilds, 1 damage there, 2 damage once we get the mountain off of Evolving Wilds, 3 damage, a little bit of burn damage there onto our opponent. Alpine Guide, enters the battlefield, search your library for a mountain card, put it onto the battlefield. Once again, we want as many possibilities as we can to get mountains onto the battlefield so we can get those effects off of our landfall abilities. attacks each combat if able, so it's not necessarily the best. And whenever he leaves the battlefield, sacrifice a mountain. So that mountain we got, we're gonna have to get rid of it at some point. But yeah, with cards like Crucible of Worlds, we'll just get it back from our graveyard. It's fine. Anger, haste is pretty important in this deck to a certain extent for like certain tap abilities. Not necessarily like that useful, but I just think it's worth to run anger based upon like how much we need it. Our type of aggression, we don't have that many defenders, so we want to take away trample where we can, and maybe we'll give ourselves trample. This way, when Zell Dincht gets up to a certain amount of power with Adventuring Gear and his landfall ability plus some other landfall abilities, let's make sure he could deal that combat damage. Ben for 4 mana, tap it, deals damage to target attacking creature equal to the number of untapped mountains you control. It's rare that this will pay off, but we take what land abilities we could get in red. Burnished Heart, some extra lands out of our deck and onto the battlefield, making so that Zell Dincht get even stronger. Dragon Master Outcast, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 6 or more lands, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. Make sure you have 7 before the start of your end step, because otherwise you'll have only 5, and then you won't get the 5/5 red dragon for 1. It's basically a 6/6 for 1 mana in this deck based on how many lands we're going to be getting. But still, I'd say a card worth running. Embodiment of Fury, trample, land creatures you control have trample as well. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may have target land you control become a 3/3 elemental with haste until end of turn. Still land, but it's a 3/3 haste trample. It's only 4 mana, and we're going to be getting 2 each turn. We return them from the graveyard, we return them from the battlefield. Let's see what we can do with it. Geode Ranger, probably my favorite card in this deck. 6 mana. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, go to each creature target player controls. So with Zell's ability, we could agree to goad 2 people rather than just do it one at a time. Or normally get up to all 3 players are goaded, and then we can swing in on them. Morag, Fury of Akum, another really good card in this deck. Each creature you control gets +1/+0 for each time it has attacked this turn. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this one, and untap all creatures. So, attack in, play land, additional combat phase, play the additional land due to Zell Dincht, get another combat phase. They're all +2/+2. Then we, if that land was Evolving Wilds, we get 3. If we have something else, we get 4. We keep getting a few extra combats in this deck, see what we can do. And if all of our opponent's creatures were goaded already, we're already at the point where we could, swing in on them. Geode Ranger is also fun with this. It's also because even if your opponent does get to the point where they get a creature after that, we can still goad it with, if we have an Evolving Wilds, if it has haste. Where were we? Nesting Dragon. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, create a 0/2. There we go. Create a 0/2 Dragon Egg creature token with Defender. When it dies, create a 2/2 Dragon. We're just really take what we get in terms of defenders in this deck. And, flyers are pretty useful. Planted Geopede. Landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, it's +2/+2 to end the turn. So say if we keep attacking with this and Morag, that's quite a bit of damage we're going to be getting on our opponent. Poo Poo UFO. Flying, put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. We'd love to see that. Additional ways to get lands. And this way, if we did return that land from our field to our hand, we still have a way to get it right back. And also, its base power can become the number of towns we control, which I don't think we really have any towns in this deck. But it's nice to know that we can. Sabo Tender. Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. A little bit of burn damage there. It's just, we'll take what we get. Saradin Cliff Stomper. As long as it's your turn and you control 4 more mountains, Saradin gets +X/+0, where X is the number of mountains you control. It's going to be quite a bit. And if we keep playing more and more mountains, we're going to keep getting more and more combats if we have Morag on the battlefield. Keep on swinging and keep on getting more damage on them. Scare Tiller may play land from your hand onto the battlefield tapped if this creature becomes tapped. That could be quite a few lands, and if we have Morag and we keep having, like, say if we have like a bunch of lands in our hand, and just scare Triller and Morag, or even if we had a way like bounce a land, that could get us quite a bit of extra combats. Or, if it's an Evolving Wilds, return target land from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's probably the easier way to do it. Skyclave Geopede, not a strong creature, same thing as Played Geopede essentially. Solemn Simulacrum, another way to get just some free lands onto the battlefield. Spitfire Lecoq, same thing as Sabble Tender, a little bit of burn damage onto our opponent, doesn't hurt anyone but our opponents. Togo, Goblin Weaponsmith, we'll get plenty of rocks onto our battlefield. Sacrifice those rocks, deal the damage to our opponent, one at a time. Tunneling Geopede, whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, deal 1 damage to each opponent. Same thing as Spitfire Lecoq, same thing as Sabble Tender, a little bit of burn damage. Oh, did I not scroll far enough for those ones? Whoops, sorry about that. Walking Atlas, you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. Another extra land drop helps us out a whole bunch there. Let's go on and scroll over to the second half of the deck, where the deck gets truly fun. Oops, sorry about that. That's why I need to start doing more editing. Blood Moon. Non-basic lands are mountains. We love mountains. Our opponents might not necessarily like mountains. So let's shut them off a little bit, and let's get our benefits instead. Claws of Valakut enchant creature gets +1/+0 for each mountain you control, and has first strike as well. Yeah, that makes Zell Dincht +2/+2 for each mountain we control, essentially. Gigantic Grip, enchant creatures +1/+0 for each mountain you control, so +2/+0, +3/+0 with all those abilities. We only need 7 mountains in order to swing in for commander damage on someone. Especially if we have like Anger or what was the one that gave Trample? Yep, Archetype of Aggression. Retreat to Valakut. Target creature +2/+0 for every time a land enters the battlefield. Target creature can't block this turn. This allows us to swing in a little bit easier with Zell Dincht, allowing us to get that commander damage. Tectonic Reformation. Each land you control in your hand has cycling for red. Sometimes we don't necessarily need the lands anymore. Sometimes we need a little bit of draw power for something else. Let's do what we can. Or, sometimes we just have Crucible of Worlds and we just play from our graveyard anyway. Valakut Exploration. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, exile a top card of your deck. You need to play that card for as long as it remains exiled, but return to your graveyard at the end of the turn and burn your opponent for a little bit. A little bit of burn damage helps us out a whole bunch. Cast Warp for some removal in this deck. Downhill Charge, you may sacrifice a mountain rather than pay this mana cost. Target creature is +X/+0, where X is the number of mountains you control. If we have this, then we have the other ones that give the +1/+0. That's could be +7, +21, +21 onto Zell Dincht super easily. Lin Bloom, create a 0/1 wizard creature token. It's just another fun land in this deck. The adventure side doesn't really necessarily matter too much to us in this one. Untimely Malfunction for some extra removal as well. We'll get to the lands at the end. This time we'll actually go through the lands because we have a game changer on those. Coat of the Hammer. Untap target mountain. It becomes a creature token. Sorry, not creature token, just becomes a creature. And then you can add red mana for every mountain you control, allowing us to get some big plays off when we get plenty of mana off that ability. Code allows us to search our deck for a mountain, put it into our hand, but still land in the hand is better than land in the deck. Blasphemous Act, board wipe there. Call the Mountain Chocobo. Oh, where's our other Chocobo? Oh, there it is. Choco-Kama is the other one I was thinking of. Call the Mountain Chocobo. Search your library for a mountain, reveal it, put it into your hand, and create a 2/2 bird token. It also has flashback, allowing us to do it again. Some good land ramp off that, along with getting us some a strong creature onto the battlefield to swing in our opponent with. Choco-Kama deals X damage to any target. We're going to have plenty of mana at a certain point. Maybe if we have Coat Hammer and we have 10 lands on the battlefield, we deal 20 damage to one of our opponents. Cleansing Wildfire, destroy target land. Its controller may search a library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield, draw a card. It could, in theory, come in handy against our opponent. More times than not, we're probably going to use on ourselves for that search power, but we have a little bit of land denial in this deck. That makes what makes this deck fun and or really usable. Hue of the Entwood. Sacrifice any number of lands, reveal top X cards of your deck, where X is the number of lands, sacrifice this way. Choose any number of artifacts, lands, put them onto the battlefield, essentially, in a certain order. Nahiri's Lightning Form. Sacrifice X lands. For each land, sacrifice this way, draw a card. You may play X additional lands this turn. Lands you control enter the battlefield tapped this turn. So say if we have this in Crucible of Worlds, we just sacrifice all of our lands for all the mana we just used, draw all those cards, and yeah, play them back from the graveyard. They just enter tapped. Spitting Earth. Spitting Earth deals damage to any creature equal to the number of mountains we control. Just removal of something. And Vandal Blast, because, we're in mono red. We may as well. And then, for once we're actually getting to the lands, Arena of Glory, and just tapped unless you control a mountain, which we're going to control a mountain. You can exert it to get 2 mana instead of 1. Real nice there. Dwarven Mine. You have to control 3 mountains in order to get its ability, but if you do, you get a 1/1 red dwarf creature token. A little bit of extra benefit there. Evolving Wilds, you get that extra landfall ability, same as Fabled Passage. Field of the Dead is a really good card in this deck. This way, whenever another land enters, you get 2/2 zombie as long as you control 7 or more lands. Which we're going to be having at a certain point, right? We do have 23 mountains in here as well. Mirrored Landscape to get an additional land out of our deck, additional landfall ability. Spinerack Knoll, Hideaway 4, look at top 4, get a free spell off them. Maybe you could get, what's our most expensive spell in this deck? Is it, yeah, I think it's one of these. Probably Blasphemous Act. Strip Mine, yeah, I mean, we have the ability to play lands from our graveyard. We may as well sacrifice to destroy target land. Sundering Eruption, destroy target land. Its controller may search, same thing as, what is it? Nope. Cleansing Wildfire, where we want to destroy our own land to get the extra landfall ability. But we could also make it into, so our opponent can't block our commander. And, it could be a land if we need it to be. Talon Gates of Madara, a little bit of protection if we need it. Terrain Generator, pay 2 mana, you may put a basic land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. Additional landfall ability off that, really helpful, same thing with Terramorphic Expanse. Ursa Saga, we need some good lands in this deck, so may as well have that as one of them. Valakut Awakening, put any number of cards from your hand onto the bottom of your library, draw that many cards plus 1, a little bit of draw power, and just a good land on the other side of it as well. Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, a little bit of burn damage there. And then Wasteland for some more land removal. So this is a bit of a land destruction deck. So don't play it with friends. Play it, with a group that you don't play with again. But that's the overall deck profile. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe so you can stay tuned for future deck profiles. I hope you enjoyed it and hope you have a good rest of the day.